Hi, I'm Perry Williamson. We've been serving the Dublin Lawrence community for over 90 years here at Williamson's Bakery. We specialize in donuts, cakes, pies, cupcakes, cookies, birthday cakes. They're our business, not a hobby. And don't forget our large selection of cheese straws. For special orders, contact us on Facebook, Instagram, or better yet, just come get you some. When you stop by, be sure to try our all-new Pig in the Blankets. We have bacon, sausage, and chicken. We're located at 1634 Veterans Boulevard, Dublin, Georgia. For the hot, freshest donuts, come to Williamson's Bakery. We proudly support our area athletics.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Real Talk. I'm your host, Pat Brock, and we are in the home of Miss Juanita Neighbors, and of course, the childhood home of her daughter, Carol. And when you're talking about the holidays, I mean, this is a special time for families to get together, for loved ones to come into town, for you to go out of town to spend time with them, and for you to reminisce about what's most important in life. How are you, Miss Juanita?
I am doing fine today, thank you.
You look fine.
Thank you.
And
About 29.
About 29.
That's right.
You look beautiful.
Thank
And, you know, we know you've got a wealth of knowledge and experiences that you've had as a little girl and now as a young woman.
Thank you.
And Carol, you know, when we talked about, you grew up in this house right here where we're sitting.
That's
and
right.
you're sitting in a chair that's very significant to your family.
That's right. That's right. This was my grandmother's. Well, it was made by my great-great-grandfather. It's a cane bottom chair that was made by my great-grandfather.
And Miss Juanita, you're sitting in a chair that you were nursed in, I'm thinking.
That is true. It's called a mother's chair, and she rocked her babies in this chair.
And you were one of those babies.
I was one of her first.
Her firstborn. And, you know, during the holidays, you know, it's really special. I know for my family, I've got a very big family. And there's a lot of things that, you know, what's important to us is to be able to try to get together, you know, just to be able to spend that time together. And Miss Juanita, talk to us a little bit about you growing up as a little girl and what made Christmas and the holidays so special for you.
We always had a Christmas tree. Now, it might not have been the prettiest tree in the world, but my father went out and cut a live tree, and we all decorated the tree together. We had lived in the country. We lived a very good life, but my father was a farmer, and so at the time we did not know we were poor, but we were really rich.
Really rich. When you talk about the time that you were able to spend with your families, the memories that you made, you know, we make memories every day. And you've got memories that are still in here. And as we look around this lovely home, that you see your memories every day.
My memories are, we lived with my grandparents, my paternal grandparents. And so I was fortunate enough to know them. They were very, very good people, religious people.
Right.
And so I had a good background through my grandparents, my parents, and my parents. And I feel that my heritage is important to me, and I am so proud.
Very good.
Of everything that has happened to me.
That's beautiful.
Yes.
And when you think about your heritage and your legacy, here's one of them right here. The middle child.
That's right.
Carol, talk to us a little bit about just listening to your mom. You know how you grew up.
Oh, yes.
Tell us how that's been for you. And now you're an adult, but you've got such great memories.
Well, I was one of three girls. We were all 3 years apart. And the weekend before or the weekend after Christmas, we would always go over to Alabama, to Mother's home place, they called it, to see the grandparents. And we had a grandmother that lived in town, in Pepperell, and a grandmother that lived in the country. So we'd spend one night with one and the other night with the other. And always huge meals. Yes. My daddy's mother. We called her Grandmommy Neighbors. She could make cakes and pies, and she could just put a spread out
From scratch.
unbelievable. Unbelievable. And they had a real small home. Their house, it was what they call a row house. The woolen mill came in and bought up the land, and then all the houses were the same. So their house was a small den, a kitchen, and a bedroom.
Right.
And they had the furnace, that my grandfather would turn up that heat, and he would be cold. But then when you get about 20 people in the house,
Burning up.
you're all burning up. And we called him Papa Joe, and we would say, Papa Joe, turn the heat down, because we would just be sweating.
Yeah.
And I only had on Papa Joe and Grandmommy's side, I only had one other cousin. She was an only child. Her name was Dina. And after the meal, we would all go into the bedroom, and we would dress up like Mary and Joseph and the baby.
Really?
My sister Rebecca, she was the director. And she would tell us all what to say and when our part was. Right. And we would spend a good amount of time in the bedroom, and then we would tell the adults we were ready. And we'd all come out, and Rebecca had us all in costume. And Rebecca would come out, and we'd be carrying our baby doll, for the baby Jesus. And we would perform our play for the grandparents.
This was like an improv. You didn't study, right?
Oh, no. Like I say,
just came up with it.
Rebecca was definitely the older sister, so she would just tell us what we were supposed to say.
Love that. That's hilarious. And when you listen to your daughter sharing about something that was special to her, as a mother, what did you input into your holidays that you received from your mom?
Well, certainly we celebrated the reason for Christmas, and that was Christ's birth.
Amen.
And so we always talked about it at Christmas time and made it very special. There's one thing about what Carol was talking about, the Christmas presents, because of the girls' choice, did not want them wrapped.
Really?
And so they were, of course, Santa Claus brought the presents, but they were not wrapped. And so Rebecca, since she was in charge and the oldest one, she would, after Santa Claus came, she would go back and tell the other two girls what Santa had brought them.
Oh, she would tell.
She did not want them to disturb my husband and I. And so finally they just couldn't stand it any longer, so then they would have to come down and see what Santa Claus had brought.
She always had the flashlight.
Had the flashlight?
My younger sister and I always look back on it, and we said, why did we mind her? I mean, why didn't we just tell her we are not doing what she said? I've got the flashlight.
So she was the boss.
And you get up when she told us that we could get up.
And you got up.
And we got up, and we would go down to the living room, and that's where Santa Claus would have everything divided up, laid out. So
nothing was wrapped, though. It just came straight out of his bag.
Out of his bag. He would lay everything out in different sections. And so, and they were in like the oldest, the middle, and the youngest. So we always knew, which was your section.
I love that. Of course, I grew up with a big family, so we didn't have many sections. We didn't always have the most toys, But there was something that I remember as a kid is because, of course, growing up on a farm, we had, vegetables and fruit and, food. But I remember this big box of apples and oranges and nuts that we'd always would magically appear. And I used to love that so much. I know that's probably something small, but in my memory, that was very big to number 13.
Yeah.
And that was special to me. And, so speaking of Santa Claus, with your husband, the late Mr. Ed Neighbors, how did you two work together to make sure that these girls had a wonderful Christmas?
The children were small when this incident happened. We were my husband was putting together something that they were going to receive at Christmas time. And one of the girls had forgotten that they had not left cookies and milk for Santa Claus. And so they started down the hall, and I met them, which one it was, I don't remember. But I met them, and I said, oh, Santa Claus is almost here at this house, and you are going to have to get back to bed. And I said, don't you hear the sleigh bells ringing? And it was so vivid to me, and I made it so vivid to them that I actually believe the sleigh bells are ringing.
That's so sweet. And to hear the way your mother describes things, it's just so precious.
Yeah, it was.
And so, what do you love most about all of those times?
Well, I think just that Mother and Daddy had a special time for just our family. It was just the five of us. We would spend time with the grandparents before Christmas or after Christmas, but they always, tried to make it very special for us, and we didn't always get what we wanted.
Right.
We got what we needed.
Yeah.
And but Mother and Daddy were always, they put us first. They always did.
And that's definitely a sign of just great parenting, how you sacrifice so much of yourself for your children. And of course, that legacy has been passed along, hasn't it?
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so.
And so, speaking of first, now, girls, we got to talk about our first time ever getting our first bicycle. I'm going to start first because I'm the baby of this group right here.
You are the baby. We'll let you go.
I remember that I was about 7 years old, and I had never had my own bicycle. And I would, other kids that I went to school with, they had everything. And it's like, wow, I want a bicycle. And I remember Angela and I got our first bicycle. I was 7 and she was 5, and we didn't know how to ride it. So we were on the front porch because it was raining, and so we were on the porch driving around in our little circle till we figured out how to ride those bicycles. And I remember the training wheels, but I remember being so happy. That's an important memory of me, is my first bicycle and how happy.
Oh.
And it was new, and we rarely got a lot of new things, at least, in my family. And so a new bicycle.
Yes.
That was like gold for me.
Oh.
Carol, when was your first time?
I was probably around 6, probably like Angela. I was young too, but bicycles, since we lived out here in what they call Green Acres, and we rode our bicycles to school.
Oh, wow.
And so it was important for us to have a bicycle. I mean, it wasn't just a toy.
That was your mode of transportation.
We did. We rode. I went to Hillcrest School, and Alexa did too. And so we rode our bikes up there to school. I can remember now. Mother doesn't remember, but I'm pretty sure we rode our bicycles in the rain. I know we rode when it was cold, but I can remember coming home in the rain.
Yeah.
But bicycles were important, and it was just fun getting up and that surprise.
Yes.
Because you might have asked for a bicycle, but you weren't sure what it was going to look like. And, we had girls and boys bicycles. So we were always excited to get that banana seat bicycle.
Right. With the little tassels hanging on the
tassels
on the
and the little bell.
Right. I love that. Yeah. All right, now, Miss Neighbors, you're going to have to go back a little further than we did.
I must have been at least 9 or 10 when I got my first bicycle, and only bicycle. And Santa Claus was supposed to have brought bicycles for the two older, me and my brother, and then a tricycle for the younger one,
right,
and a kitty cart for the very youngest.
Right.
But Santa Claus got mixed up on that,
Oh,
and
my Lord.
instead of the girls' bicycle being the largest, the boys' bicycle was the largest.
How could he mix that up?
I don't see how. But anyway, I had to learn to ride the bicycle with my butt up in the air.
In the air.
Well, I was disappointed, but I rode that bicycle for a long
A
time.
long time. I love that. I love that. We're going to take a commercial break, ladies, and we'll be back. This is such a great story here, being able to sit in this living room and talk with two amazing ladies. We'll be back, ladies and gentlemen, after this commercial.
A lot of people don't know that Nationwide Insurance is the largest farm insurer in the country. Example, this tractor. There's multiple ways to cover your equipment. It is replacement cost, actual cash value, insuring the GPS system on it. In addition to tractors, we also cover any implements that you would like to cover. Like this front end loader has a value added to your tractor or on its own. A lot of times, the only way we will insure a farm is if we come to your site. We're gonna walk it, we're gonna talk it, we're gonna find out what you do and what your interests are. We're gonna customize it so that you get full benefit with the broadest coverage that's available on the market today. A lot of people find out at the time of a claim that they were not properly covered. That is my worst fear. So we make sure going in that you are covered properly. Don't forget to insure your sprayer. A lot of people say, I rode by and didn't see you at your office. That's because I was probably on a farm.
We are back, ladies and gentlemen, and I tell you, this has been such a wonderful visit here with Miss Juanita and her lovely daughter, Carol. You know, we've been talking a lot about, you know, how we grew up, how you grew up with different traditions. And you all had an incident when it was the Great Snow of Dublin in 1973.
1973, Mother and Daddy were expecting, I was in the 12th grade, and Mother and Daddy were expecting overnight guests for that weekend. They were coming, and so when the snow came, my dad left to go try to get my sister from Georgia Southwestern, which never happened. But Mother had all this food that she had prepared, and when they say that you could not go anywhere that week, you could not go anywhere.
It was just that bad.
It was that bad. You could not, unless you walked, there was no way to get anywhere.
Oh, my.
And so our neighbors, Catherine and Bob Willis and Ted and Loretta Gerald, my mother said from Sunday, well, we're going to have church and we're going to have Sunday school, because we didn't miss either one of those if we were not able to. So we contacted them, and Mother took all that food, and we went over to the Willises, and we had Sunday school, and then we had church with them.
Oh, my Lord.
And ate all the food. Well, afterwards, we'd gotten together for meals at night, but never really gotten together for meals at breakfast time. And so they came up with a tradition that we would always come and have Christmas morning together.
Oh, my Lord. And how long did you all do that?
We were taking, well, I bet it was 30 years.
30 years.
Because we did it even after I was married and even after I had children. And we would either go to Mother and Daddy's home here, or we would go to the Willises, or then we'd go out to the Willises camp house.
Oh, my
or we'd go
Lord.
to the Geralds. And, of course, we lost Miss Catherine a couple of years ago, and Loretta and Ted, their children moved out of town, so they had to start going to them. So, but that was a tradition that started with the 1973 snow.
Oh, my gosh. You remember all that, don't you?
I do.
Now, do you still cook as much as you used to?
Well, up until last year, the family was able to squeeze me a few hours in the Christmas weekend.
Right.
And all of the family would come to my house, and that was just a joy.
That's good.
Joy. But the family has grown now, and so for the last 2 years, I've gone to Carol's and Alexis, and this year, I hope that I can be squeezed in again.
Yes. Can you squeeze her into
I
your
think
calendar?
we can squeeze her in, but she does cook. she still entertains. She had a meeting here with the WMU yesterday.
Right.
And she's got about once a week she has bridge here. She's having the Sunday school class of about 25 people.
Miss Neighbors.
They're going to be coming to her house for sit-down dinner.
I did not fix all the food.
You don't fix everything.
I did
You
not
let
fix
someone do something.
Oh, absolutely.
And this is so lovely. The fact that you still enjoy having company and still enjoy that hospitality and showing that love of Christ to everyone that you meet. That's still so special. And you know, of course, with the holidays, this is also a time too where with our traditions, with our getting together with our families, there's some of us who have lost loved ones.
That's right.
Some of us where it's our first Christmas without our loved ones, and they have to be able to deal and navigate through that and kind of do things a little differently, right? And so for that, our heart and prayers go out to you. And Miss Neighbors, you lost your spouse of how many years in 2008?
60 years.
60 years.
Yes. My husband and I had a very good marriage. It was not perfect, but we had a good marriage, and we still loved each other at the end of 60 years.
That's so beautiful.
The first year that Ed died, excuse me, that Christmas I just was so grieved and sad. I said I did not think I was even going to decorate for Christmas that year, 10 years ago.
Wow.
But Carol says, well, Mother, we've got some help that's coming to help me decorate and put up my tree. And he had been Clinton's water boy for when he was in school. And so she says, why don't you let Maurice come and help you put up the tree? And Maurice had never had a Christmas tree. And he just enjoyed looking at I think he must have spent a long time decorating the tree because he had pictures of the family, and it was such that just really brought my Christmas back into
That's beautiful.
Our tradition.
That's beautiful. And I know that it was difficult for you to lose your dad and for one to see your mom without her partner.
Well, my middle son married. As a matter of fact, his 10th anniversary is tomorrow. So he married right after Daddy died. So it was like we had the death, and then we had to get ready to celebrate. And so it really, we had to just get through that time. Of course, we wanted to be happy for him and his wife, and certainly were. But we just kind of had to get through that Christmas.
Yeah.
And then Mother could kind of take some time to grieve and say her goodbyes to Daddy, and then she finally start. You know, you have to kind of put some things away.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to their clothes. You have to kind of do that,
And you have to take baby steps, I think.
baby
because it's
steps. It
after
is
so many years and so many memories.
That's right.
That's not always easy for people, and so that's why during the holidays, you know, it's important when you lose a loved one or have lost someone that you're around family, that you're around people who love you, who care for you, and who are there for you. And you yourself also had a loss as well.
We did. We lost Sam. This will be our second Christmas without Sam.
That was your grandchild.
That was my grandchild.
And look what you're holding here.
Yes. I actually made one for Mother, and I made one for me. There was one thing about Sam. Sam was 3, and I think from the time that he could smile, he smiled every single, every time you called his name.
Right.
Every time you entered the room. He loved my husband, and because Clinton would say, you know, like, get up from there, boy, and stuff like that, you know. But he always smiled. So the year that we had Christmas without him, I had this ornament made for Mother.
That's beautiful.
And has all of her great-grandchildren's names, and then smile for Sam at the bottom. But Sam's just, he's still our grandchild. He's just in a different place.
Yes, he is. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And for the memories that you all have made with your family and the foundation that was already made by your parents' parents, and then how the traditions and the foundation that you're laying for your children.
That's right.
This is something that other families can see and say, this is very important. This is how I need to make sure that our family legacy stays true to what it is.
That is so true.
Yeah.
I would certainly hope that the grandchildren and the great-grandchildren could carry on some of the traditions that we started so many years ago.
That's beautiful. And as we
And the most important thing is why we celebrate.
why we celebrate.
And that Jesus is the reason for all seasons.
Absolutely, he is. And you know, when we walk around your home and we see so many different little things, and there's a story behind all of it, that's what's rich.
It is.
That's what's rich. That's what, in the end, in the big scheme of things, that's what matters.
That's right.
Yeah. And so, and part of your tradition, now, Carol, you would play on the organ, and you would have your grandbabies read this book. Is that right?
When they got old enough to read, they read about Jesus, God's Son, is born.
Oh, wow.
And that's the reason we celebrate Christmas.
I love this. Can we look at this here? Jesus, God's Son, is born. And so what ages would they read this?
Well, she's got it written in
You've
the front.
got it written in the
She's
front.
got
Look at that.
Most of our gifts, Mother does a good job. She writes when we got it and why we got it. And I will have to say, along with this tradition of telling the story, Mother is an avid estate sale customer.
Oh.
If she finds that there's an estate sale anywhere, she is going to be there.
She's going to be there.
Most of the time on Sunday because that's half price day. But she buys gifts on the estate sales throughout the year, and she hides them under her bed. And then a couple of weeks before Christmas, she takes them all out, and we will get a regular gift, like pajamas or something like that.
Right.
And then we all get, even from the 2-year-old, everyone gets an estate sale gift.
Look at that.
And some of them can be quite interesting. And so we always have a good time with Mother about her estate sale gifts. Last year, one of the girls said she looked it up on eBay, and what Mother had gotten her was like worth $200.
Oh my God! So you never know what is in this. This house is like an estate sale.
Oh yes.
All right, we're going to be back, and we're going to let Carol play some of her beautiful childhood songs.
That's right.
On the organ. We'll be back.
Welcome to Pitts Toyota, downtown Dublin, where people go to buy great cars at great prices. We're a family-owned and operated full-service automobile dealership, serving Middle Georgia since 1947.
It's our promise to provide you with an enjoyable, stress-free shopping experience. We have a full-service website that's fast, convenient, and easy to navigate.
We provide a balance between the big city selection and the warm, familiar atmosphere of a hometown business.
Toyota, let's go places.
Probably my earliest memories of sitting in front of this piano or practicing. Began playing at 9. All three of us girls played. Georgia Lou Claxton was Rebecca and I. She was our teacher, and Nancy Claxton taught my younger sister, Alexa. Miss Georgia Lou, there was one thing that she told me. Now, you're going to use your music for the church. So I am now in my 28th year as assistant pianist at First Baptist Church. So I hope she's looking down and she knows I'm still playing and still playing for the church. On Christmas Eve, we always have a service at our church, as First Baptist Church, and that's a real tradition with our family. Ever since we began that service, probably when my children were small, we would go to that service on Christmas Eve and sing Christmas carols and listen to the Christmas story. So this is one of my favorite Christmas hymns, Christmas songs, and it's Silent Night.
Ladies and gentlemen, this has been such an absolute pleasure for you all to witness and myself to be in the midst of Miss Juanita and to hear these beautiful stories of her childhood and the traditions that she's had within her family, and for Carol to have lived through, you know, those wonderful times. That's and right. Then also having traditions of your own. And so we're going to close out, but we're going to let you give some words of comfort or encouragement to the people of Dublin, Lawrence County about Christmas, the holidays, and how important it is for family.
Well, you know, we did go through as you mentioned earlier, the loss of our loss, heaven's gain, of my father and then of our grandchild. And I would like to share that, you know, Jesus is the reason for the season, mm-hmm. but the descriptor of Jesus is wonderful counselor and comforter. Amen. And so he will comfort you, he will guide you, he will counsel you through this season. And don't ever think that that you should forget, right? Because we remember my dad, we remember my grandson, and remember those wonderful times, and just thank God that we did have those times with him, mm-hmm. that he let us have my father as long as we did, and that we had our grandson as long as we did. And so lean on your family, lean on your friends during this grieving time of a first, if it is a first, right. of a loss of a loved one, but know that Jesus is there with you.
Beautiful. Thank you, Carol. Miss Juanita, any words from you?
I would like for everybody to understand that Christmas is more than just gift giving and the activities that we enjoy, the Christmas music, mm-hmm. and all of those things. God is our refuge. Amen. Jesus is our Savior. And there is a life after death. Mm-hmm. And eternity is real. Amen. So I just pray that each of us will celebrate Christmas for the right motives and the right reasons, right. and live in eternity with Him.
Amen. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Well, thank you both so much. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us today. It's been such a special day, and to, you know, always remember what the reason is for why we celebrate and why we do what we do. And family's so important. I often talk about that. You know, there's nothing like family.
We love you, Pat.
I love you too.
You're like one of ours.
I know, it feels like it. And to know that you were friends with my mom, whom I don't even remember because I was so young when she passed away, just to hear you talk about the relationship you had with my mom, that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that with me.
The Lewis family means a lot to us, and we're so thankful for the friendship that we share, yeah. and the love we share with them.
Always and forever.
Ever. Through eternity, too.
Through eternity. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us today. That's all the time we have for Real Talk. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and please keep watching.